Hey, welcome to Vic Knows the Vibes, where every chat is a vibe check. I'm your host Vicky, here to explore life's nuances with you. Are you ready to dive in and vibe together? Today's episode is all about friendship. The beauty of friendship, the not so beautiful aspect of friendships, the risks associated with cultivating a friendship, and everything in between. I do feel as though friendship is a really important aspect of life should you experience it, but it's not lost on me how much said friendships can evolve over time and really impact our well-being positively or negatively. I feel as though I've always been a person that found it relatively easy to make connections with people in different settings. So whether that's in a new job or at a party or starting a new program in school, I was able to connect with at least one or two people and form some sort of bond. But nowadays, not so much. I feel like it was easier when I was younger because I didn't really know myself enough. I feel as though I didn't necessarily respect my boundaries enough, and I was way too much in my people-pleasing bag. And that's not to say that the connections that I did make with those people were horrible or anything, but just looking back, it's made me realize that a lot of the time I was maybe forcing myself to make or maintain a certain dynamic between myself and another individual out of fear or trying to avoid a certain level of discomfort associated with being alone, you know? So, and of course, as you get older and hopefully more confident in yourself, in your wants and your needs, you become much more comfortable with expressing yourself, and naturally you become drawn to people that can relate to you and allow you to live in your authenticity and vice versa. Now that I'm older, I can say that I have a handful of individuals that I would genuinely consider and label as a friend. They say quality over quantity, and I could not agree more. I would truly rather have one amazing friend in my life as opposed to 10 who act a little funny and make me question their motives every few months, you know? With age, though, I also wonder how others interpret me in their lives. Like, of course, I would like to think that I'm a great friend and I'm there when they need me, but I could be completely off base. And I think that's what unearths those conflicts and disagreements in friendships and sometimes even leads to friendship breakups. So I'll get more into that later, but for now, I kind of want to zoom out and really just start to look at the definition of friendship, you know? So I entrusted my handy dandy friend ChatGPT to give me the definition, and this is what they gave me. Friendship is the relationship between two or more friends characterized by mutual respect, trust, and affection. It is a voluntary connection built over time, often grounded in shared experiences, understandings, and common interests. Friendships provide a sense of belonging, emotional support, and contribute significantly to one's overall well-being. While friendships can vary in depth and duration, the core of a healthy friendship lies in its reciprocal nature. Both parties give and receive emotional and social support, creating a balanced and fulfilling relationship. Okay, ChatGPT. Yes, I feel like I really agree with this definition. I think they hit on some core factors of a friendship and a genuine friendship, that being reciprocity, emotional and social support, balance, understanding, a sense of belonging. I feel like if you look at your core friends or even your bestie, there's got to be at least a few of those elements within there. I also want to look at what actually constitutes a true friendship, because in this day and age, the word friend is used quite loosely. I hear and see people say, oh, that's my girl, that's my friend, but I would be like, I don't want you as my friend, and I don't want you to call me a friend if that is how you're moving around me, if that's how you're speaking about me, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's important to also look at the different types of friendships and what that truly means. Like, are you an acquaintance? Are you a close friend? Are you a best friend? Are you simply a colleague? Are you someone that I know through somebody else? And even with that, I feel as though an acquaintance can hold just as much importance in your life as a close friend or a bestie. Maybe your best friend is not going to tell you, girl, you should not have said that, you should not have done that, because they love you, they care for you, they might even think the same way. as opposed to an acquaintance who does not know you as well, or maybe truly does not love you as much and is willing to give you that critical feedback because they want you to simply be better and do better, but they're willing to be honest about it. So I think that people can play different roles in your life, but they can all be for the betterment of yourself if you allow it to be. One of the reasons why I was prompted to talk about friendship in this episode was because I saw an Instagram post from Essence on Instagram titled, "What About Your Friends?" And they were asking their audience for their opinion on how they would feel if a friend posted a personal issue on the internet. As soon as I saw that, it was a hard no for me. I was like, you are not my friend if you do that. And a lot of people in the comments agreed, but others said it depended on, the situation, what really happened, how close of a friend is this person, and so on and so forth. And it just made me think, because if you are my friend and you know me, you know that I'm not on social media like that, or you know that my life is not content, you know that I don't appreciate personal issues being blasted to the masses to have an opinion on it. I just don't see how you could really come back from doing something like that. But hey, so then I also was thinking about becoming friends with someone in childhood. I've seen so many relationships that have started in childhood and, you've been friends for 10, 20, even 30 years, and then you guys break up. And it always makes me wonder, because I'm like, dang, how can you be friends for so long and this happens? But, people change. And sometimes it's also an issue of, you've been doing this to me since we were 14. I have told you about this since we were 17, and now we're 34 and you haven't changed, and I don't want you in my life anymore. And so I wanted to also look at making friends as a child. I kind of touched on this in saying that it was easier for me to make friends as a child because I was very much just wanting to be included, have a friend, have someone I could rely on. So maybe if I noticed that people didn't really jive with my opinion on certain things or my wants and needs, I would set that to the side so that I could fit in, if you will. And I think that a lot of children relate to that, especially in school or extracurriculars where there's a big group and you want to fit in. You're a child, you want to feel included, you don't want to be pushed off to the side, and so you dismiss certain things about yourself in order to remain palatable to the bigger crew. And a lot of this also has to deal with proximity, school, extracurriculars, neighborhood, church, your cousins, just people who are so close to you all the time. Just by virtue of distance, you're going to end up talking to them and end up being like, okay, well, I see you all the time, I might as well get along with you. And sometimes it works out. You discover shared hobbies and interests and activities, and you're able to cultivate a really beautiful connection and friendship from a young age. But other times you just remain stuck in that dynamic because we went to elementary school together, we're in high school together, we're going to the same university together, and you're growing together, you're learning things together, and you're both kind of molding each other and dictating how you should think, what you should wear, what you should eat. And then it could become a very toxic cycle until you reach your big age of 30, 31 or above, and that's when you decide, you know what, upon reflection, I don't want you in my life. I don't consider you the type of friend that I need. And I have been feeling like this for X amount of months or years, So I think making friends as a child can be great, but it can also be detrimental depending on how long it takes for a person to realize what's really going on. And I think the same kind of takes place in adolescence as well. Even more so, I think it's more so impactful during adolescence because you're going through puberty, your mind is going a mile a minute, you're experiencing so many different things, your body is changing so quickly, and that's one of the most important times when you really do want to have connection. You want someone to talk to. It may not be your parents, it may not be your siblings. You want to be able to go to your friend at school and say, girl, did you get your period too? Oh my gosh, your boobs are getting bigger. What's your bra size? You want to have that connection. So again, in adolescence, when everything is changing, is when you're morphing into someone you should or should not be becoming, right? And there's a lot of peer pressure attached to that, and the social pressure attached to that too. Once again, to have friends, be able to go to parties with people, and develop that sense of loyalty and trust. So I think during our formative years, of course, childhood, adolescence, friendships can seem, I put friendships in quotations, right? They can pop up, but they're not always positive. An experience that I always think about is me in elementary school. I was best friends with this girl for, I don't even know, maybe like grade 3 until the beginning of grade 9, I would say. And we lived around the corner from each other. There was definitely a difference in income levels, and now looking back, it was glaring. It was glaring. Anyways, but I would go to her house and, play, do whatever. We were just young girls getting into silliness and having fun. And I distinctly remember an occasion where, actually, a lot of times she would ask me to hang out, and my parents would say no. And then I would cry, and then at the last possible second, they would say yes, and then her parents would come and pick me up. And so I remember an incident where I think I was asking to sleep over. And side note, I get it now. Like, I get why sleepovers were a no-go. But hey, I was young, and I just wanted to have fun. And my parents had said, no, you're not going, cried my eyes out. And then last minute they said, okay, fine, you can go. So I called her, and her parents came to pick me up. And I remember getting into the vehicle. It was her dad driving, her mom, her sister, my friend, our other friend, and then me getting into the vehicle. And it was so tense. I remember jumping into the back of the van saying hi, and I think only my friend and our mutual friend said hi, but everyone else was quiet. And at my young age, I was like, I've done something wrong here, because I said I wasn't coming, and then I came, right? So I remember feeling uncomfortable. And then after the fact, our mutual friend had said, before you got into the vehicle, the mom was going off about you and your family, saying your parents always do this, and it's so annoying having to pick you up. And I remember just feeling so low and thinking, like, as an adult, I can appreciate that it's maybe frustrating or even annoying. Okay, like, they always say no, and then last minute they say yes, and then we have to scramble and come back. But in relation to a child, I was a child. So to be speaking negatively about me to your daughter, to our mutual friend, to your other daughter, it just did not sit right with me. But even in that moment, when I was told, I was just like, it's my fault, my parents, didn't think too much about it. And I remember too, this particular friend, she always would go for dinner with the rest of her extended family on a specific night. And the invitation was never extended to me, and I never thought anything of it. I was just like, okay, well, they're going to a family dinner. I'm not part of their family. That's okay. So if I was over on that particular family dinner night, they would either bring me home before that, or I would get picked up, and that was it, and everything was fine and dandy. Eventually, me and this girl, we kind of stopped being friends, whatever. We grew apart, and a new girl started to become her best friend. And I remember, I don't know how I heard about this. Maybe they were just talking about it, because we were still in the same circle, more or less, but I found out that this new best friend was going to these family dinners, and I couldn't help but think, okay, is it because I'm black? Because the new bestie was white, and this friend of mine was white. And so I remember thinking, dang, like, so there was something there. I low-key, high-key, upon reflection, I do think that her parents were racist towards me and looked down on me. But of course, as a child, you're not thinking these things. You just want to be around your best friend. And so even in moments like that, as a child, trying to navigate the thought of a person's parents not liking me, but me wanting to maintain a friendship. And so I'm going to set aside my feelings of discomfort, or I'm going to blame myself in order to keep being friends with someone that maybe she even felt the same way about me. It just made me realize once again how childhood friendships can impact those specific skills in terms of socializing and your expectations, how I grew up, how I continue to expect or not expect certain things from friends or even partners because of the way I was reared or the things I was seeing and experiencing. So it's really interesting when you take a step back and you start thinking back to these experiences and being like, wow, that was not okay, you know? And by the time I was able to adequately assess that relationship and other childhood friendships and pinpoint what was right and wrong in those dynamics, I was well into my adulthood and making friends as an adult, whether that was in university or after university. So I'm sure it had an impact on me and how I interacted with other people and how I stood up for myself and maybe how I kept quiet during certain things. Because if you know, you know. Adulthood friendships are a whole nother ball game. You're not just going to school and playing on the playground and coming home and calling your friend or going on MSN and Ray-Tay-Tay. Now you're balancing your own family life, your own career, your own responsibilities, and navigating those choppy waters of life. So it just feels 10 times harder to really maintain and nurture a safe friendship when you're older. I will say this is probably one of the big reasons why your friendships as you get older are more intentional and selective, because it's like I barely have time for myself. So if I'm keeping you in my life as a friend, I need to like you. I need to want you to be there for a specific reason, right? I don't want to say transactional, but yeah, there has to be that level of reciprocity. If I feel as though I'm always giving, I'm always checking in, and you are doing nothing, none of the sort. If I don't message you or call you, I won't hear from you for months. I think it's time to reassess that relationship, right? And in that same vein, I think it's also important to note the challenges that come with having friendships in your adulthood, making new friends, maintaining those friendships. You know, starting from maybe 18, 19, if you do decide and have the opportunity to go to college or university, I think proximity comes into play once again. You know, you guys are on campus together, you're in the same classrooms, maybe you're living on residence together, or you're living in an apartment or a house together. And so by virtue of proximity, you form certain relationships. And yeah, you may not really like this person. Like I've seen a lot of friendship breakups happen after university and college as well, because now I'm not seeing you every time I go to the bathroom or go into the kitchen. And I realize my life is okay without you, right? And so when you think of that, and let's say that is something you experience, now you're out of school and you feel as though you're back at square one. I ditched my childhood friends when I went up to school. Now I'm ditching my friends, not ditching, but you know what I mean, growing and deciding that you don't want to maintain this friendship. This happened again when I'm leaving college or university and I'm starting from square one. I want a friend or a friendship, but I don't know what to do. And I think that can be very overwhelming, but fear not. A lot of people likely feel the same exact way. And so just thinking of certain things you can do to help yourself boost your confidence and meet new people, I would say you can join certain clubs or organizations or even classes, whether those are art classes, gym classes, meditation classes, you know what I mean? You can do certain things that you enjoy and end up meeting great people that way and forming friendships. And I always say this, social media can be toxic, but I also think it's a great tool. You can use that tool to find certain events going on, find certain threads, just, you know, share a commonality with someone else and form a friendship that way. Of course, there's certain apps. I've never used friendship apps. I think Bumble has some type of a friend feature where you can say you're looking for friends. I've never tried it. I've seen some people say it's great and other people say it's not great. And I think that is, you know, the sentiment for most of life and most things in life. So do with that what you will. But yeah, I think it's not bad to try those strategies out if you really feel as though you want friends, you want to cultivate that friendship and take it into your older years of life. And then also reconnecting with old friends or old acquaintances. I know a lot of people feel as though once they're done, they're done. But to me, it depends on context. Obviously, if we had a bad falling out or truly our personalities never meshed, yeah, I'm not going to revisit that. But maybe you're a great friend, but you moved across countries and we lost touch. I lost your phone number when I was moving apartments and you have no social media. And then I come across you again. That could be a great opportunity to reconnect and form a beautiful, budding new friendship. And so I would just say keep your mind open as an adult trying to make friends. It's intimidating, it's overwhelming, but it can also be very fun. And boost your confidence because you can go into a situation being like, I know myself, I know what I like, I know what I don't like. This person is either going to be right or wrong for me, and walk away from it knowing that you know yourself well enough to do something like that. With adulthood, friendships, though, does come that real possibility of friendship breakups. They suck. Sometimes they even hit harder than a breakup with a partner or a spouse, but they're very real, and they just seem to hit harder in your adulthood compared to your childhood, because I think once you're an adult, you feel the emotional hurt, but logically you're also trying to almost map out or dissect what has occurred and truly understand it. So in elementary school, Sally doesn't want to play with me anymore. I might be upset for a day or two, but I'm going to get over it faster than if me and my girl, who have been friends for years, break up when we are 25 or 30, because again, emotionally I'm hurt, but now I'm also running back the years of our friendship and, going through conversations and experiences and trying to really understand what has happened so that I can have that closure to move on. So yeah, I think that as we get older, those breakups are more glaring and they hit so much harder. I think, of course, they can occur naturally. We've just drifted apart. I moved different states, different countries. I got married. I went this way. I had a kid. I am going back to school. I'm doing my PhD. Like, there's so many factors as you become an adult that can impact your life. And as such, you're not able to maintain that connection. And especially if you feel as though it's not a connection that is as important, maybe it does fall to the wayside. So yeah, maybe I am okay talking to you every 6 months, and then it's every year, and then it's every 3 years, and now it's only a random year on your birthday or on Christmas, and you just drift apart. It happens. It's a part of life, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it per se. But the other side of that is when there's also misunderstandings and conflicts and real head-to-head issues where it's like, girl, we spoke about this 3 months ago and you just did it again and you hurt my feelings and I don't like this and I don't know how much longer I can put up with this, and let's get ready to rumble. Basically, it's a problem. In my older age, I would say I've experienced all different kinds of breakups with my friends. I've had the breakups that stem from, just drifting, growing apart. There's no bad blood. I wish you all the best, but we don't gotta talk. That's okay. If I ever run into you, of course, we're gonna be civil and say what's up, but neither party feels the need to actively reach out or check on the other, and that's okay. I've also had ones where I feel as though, okay, you're doing something really shady here. I called you out on it and you're defending the shadiness, or you're not even attempting to see my side or empathize with me. I've had those situations where, I had to say good riddance, and I felt so much better about it. And there's times too where I've been on the other end where someone maybe said, hey, I don't like how you're behaving. And I struggled to see how they were feeling. And they took that as disrespect and they said, okay, goodbye. And so I have to own that as well. And I think, again, as an adult, you have to navigate all those emotions. You have to decide what's worth fighting for and what's not worth fighting for. I will say grieving a friendship or a dynamic that you have between friends can feel very strange and off-putting, because it's definitely not the same as grieving a romantic breakup. It's different. This is my man and this is my girl. Things you share with your man, you may not always share with your girl, and vice versa. And so there's just a different level of intimacy attached to both of them. And so when you lose a friend, you lose a part of your girlhood, a part of your sisterhood, and it can really throw you off kilter for a long time. It is very painful, and sometimes you really don't know how to move forward. I would say what has helped me, or what I have seen be helpful to others is to just allow yourself to grieve the loss. You don't have to play tough and be like, whatever, F her, I don't care. She wasn't a great friend. Unless that is this case, if she really was never a good friend to you, then of course it's going to be easier to get over. But if this was a true friendship and you had lots of amazing moments together, you got to grieve that because it hurts. It hurts that I'm not going to know what the rest of your life looks like. It hurts that I'm not going to be sharing my accomplishments and my dreams and my desires, my partner. If I have children, I'm not going to be able to introduce you to my children and be like, hey, this is your auntie. This was my bestie for years, da da da. Like, those are things that really suck and can really, really feel painful. So you should allow yourself to grieve that loss before trying to pick yourself up and move forward. Also, reflecting on the good times you did have. Again, I think it depends on the person. Some people don't want to do that because they're, I'm done with it. I don't want to think about it anymore. Let's move forward. But if it helps, you can reflect on the positive so that you're not looking back on this negative experience of the breakup and just fixating on it. You can say, okay, this was horrible, but we've had decades or years or months of good times together, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for what I've learned. I'm grateful for what she taught me, or what I've been saying she so many times, although it is another discussion on another episode. You can be friends with guys too. I'll just leave it there, but you can be friends with guys too. So yeah, I think it's also nice to be able to surround yourself with positive people and positive supports. Sometimes you do need that distraction. You do need people who still love you to remind you that there are still people in your corner. There are still people who want to see you do great in life and to push you and pull you out of your funk. You can also try engaging in activities that bring you joy and fulfillment. So again, it's just a matter of grieving the loss, but not getting stuck there. So if you guys used to love going salsa dancing together or going to work out together, maybe you don't want to go to the same studio. Got it. But maybe you can look to see if there's a studio nearby, or maybe you can just try a new activity altogether, and that will get your creative juices flowing. And maybe you'll meet new people that way. So I think you should also just stay open. Stay open. If you're one of those people that believe everything happens for a reason and when one door closes, another one opens, you need to keep that in mind. Like, you need to get up and get out there and trust that, hey, this is working out in my favor. It's going to be okay. And of course, I recognize that this is not the reality for people. Some people maybe have one close friend and that relationship ends. So they might be listening to this being like, I have no support system. This was my only friend in this country. I'm all by myself. I feel so lonely. And that is valid. That is so, so valid. I would say, again, give yourself grace, give yourself time to grieve that loss. But then you also have to pick yourself up. And I don't mean you have to do it on your own. Maybe that does mean speaking to someone, whether it's a counselor, a therapist, an acquaintance. Just try and find an outlet. Don't force yourself to be the person experiencing it / the person fixing it / the person analyzing it, because then it becomes too much and you don't allow yourself to just be. Now, breakups aren't always all bad. I know they suck. I know they can really hurt, but sometimes there is light at the end of the tunnel. Once you've gone through that breakup, you've grieved, you've been able to exhale, and you feel better, you're thinking more clearly, maybe you can learn more about yourself. You can see why that breakup happened, why that relationship was not working, why that type of friend is not someone you were able to truly connect with. And you can take that into your next relationship, your next friendship, your next interaction with an acquaintance or a colleague. So as much as it is a lot of work, there is always something to be learned and experienced from a friendship and from a breakup. Talking about friendships in adulthood also makes me think about friendships when I am much older. I think about people like my mom. Her and her best friend have been friends for over 30 years. Like, they are locked in, they are besties. They go shopping together, they go different places together, they travel together, they're on the phone all the time together, they've been through ups together, downs together. And it's a really beautiful thing to witness, honestly. I love seeing it, and I love knowing that it exists, and I love being able to bear witness to how they maintain that relationship and dynamic throughout the years. And I would say it's connection. It's maintaining that connection. I'm, like I said, I'm calling you. I'm asking you to go out here. We're traveling together. We're doing different activities together. We are being vulnerable together. And when you really think about it, I think those are key factors to maintaining a friendship or a relationship. You want that vulnerability. You want that reciprocity. You want that fun, that laughter, that ability to say, you are my girl. You've seen me when I'm bawling my eyes out, but you've also seen me crying because I'm laughing so hard. That really does something for a relationship. And I just hope that as I get older, I'm able to maintain or even form new friendships with other people, and keep doing so in a healthy way. The last thing I really wanted to look at was the future of friendships. And I say future in terms of how social media, of course, is going to, or has already impacted our friendships. You know, we are all online, some more than others, but we are all online. And I really do feel as though that has impacted our friendships. So, you know, maybe I am FaceTiming you all the time, or I am guilty of this. I'm voice noting you all the time instead of actually calling you or meeting up with you for coffee or food or whatever the case. And I'm just wondering, is the connection the same? You know, do you still feel connected to me? Do you feel as though I'm still putting in as much effort, and vice versa? Because our phones are right there. They're so accessible and they're so much easier. But I wonder if it's a cop-out in a sense. And it also makes me think about those parasocial relationships, you know, the friends you make online that you think are your friends, but then when you finally meet up with them, it's a terrible experience. I remember watching this girl's TikTok, and she was talking about how she had been friends with someone for, it was a substantial amount of time, but they had never met in person, but they had FaceTime, they had spoken over the phone, and they were tight. When she finally went to go visit her in person, it was a horrible experience. Like, she left early and was so devastated, like heartbroken, because her friend, in quotations, treated her so terribly, like kind of excluded her, spent so much time with her partner instead of her friend who had traveled to go see her. And when they hung out with a bigger group of friends, it was just very awkward and uncomfortable. And I'm wondering if, again, that has to do with the fact that we met online, we kind of formed our connections online, and we didn't have a chance to see how it feels in person, because I'm a firm believer that a connection can feel one way over the internet, online, on FaceTime, but once you're actually in person, it can feel totally different. So I'm curious to see how that develops. What are the implications? Are they good? Are they bad? What does that mean? How do we resolve it if it is bad? I feel like I could go on and on about friendships and acquaintances and friendship breakups, but I really just want to leave it here by, again, highlighting the importance of nurturing and valuing your friendships if you have them at every stage of life. I think that if you have a good group of people that are in your corner, love you, call you out when you need to be called out, and provide you with comfort when you need that, you should really, really take stock of that and never take it for granted. This life is hard enough, so when you have someone who's going to ride for you and protect you and be there for you, it's really a blessing. So I just encourage listeners to reflect on their own friendships. If you are looking to cultivate new ones, I also encourage you to take stock of who you are as a person, be honest with yourself, and recognize what you can give to a friendship versus what you are looking to receive from a friendship. Also, watch movies, read books, watch TV shows. There's so many resources out there concerning friendships. And I know sometimes we feel as though friendships take a back burner because we always have so much else going on in our lives, but they're very important. They're a social relationship that we have and seemingly want to maintain. So why not properly equip yourself? I will also say I recently rewatched the series Girlfriends, and in adulthood, I recognize that I don't think Any of them were good friends. Honestly, Joan, Maya, Tony, Lynn, none of them were good friends, in my opinion. But I remember being younger and thinking, oh my gosh, four best friends. I love this dynamic. So, yeah, when you go back and rewatch certain shows or movies, you also kind of see more and understand more, if you will. And lastly, I want to leave y'all with the takeaway vibe, and that is let it. Let it go, let it stay, let it shake you up, let it be. Like almost everything else in life, friendships are always evolving. Sometimes you've got what feels like a million friends, and other times it feels like you have none. There's really no right or wrong answer here. Although I've spoken about the importance of friendships, I've also met people who have little to no friends, and they are genuinely great people. So don't get caught up in the idea of feeling more or less than because of your circumstance. Navigating life is honestly tough enough when you have someone to do that with, whether it's a friend, a partner, family, acquaintance, a colleague. You are blessed. If you have friends, nurture them. If you don't, nurture yourself. And with that, I say thank you guys so much for listening. Until next time, bye.